Hey everyone, Metagross Freak here with my rendition of a Claptrap MOC in LEGO CCBS. Now I realize that my MOC isn't as accurate as, say, something like this pop vinyl figure for Claptrap's design. However, this is as close as I could get using only CCBS LEGO parts. I mean, there's a couple other system pieces, but basically it's almost completely CCBS parts. So I thought I'd want to share it with you for those of you who really like Borderlands and want to try to use it for yourself. Anyway, let's get started. We're going to start off with the torso and the wheel. For this you're going to need a protector body piece, two of the short limb pieces, not the ones that just have the ball on the end, but have a slight extension. Two of these, I don't know what these are officially called, they're Generation 1 hands. They aren't used as hands anymore, but in Generation 1 these pieces were used as hands. You're going to need two axle stud connector pieces like this. The specific angle is 4. As you might be able to see, there's a 4 printed on these pieces. You don't have to use these, but I like to use these to stabilize the MOC. You're going to need 4 2-length axles, and one axle that's, I believe, about 6 or 5 or 6. Yes, you're going to need one 5-length axle. The color doesn't matter, though I'd recommend either black or gray. And finally, you're going to need some kind of a wheel. This particular piece is a wheel from a Life on Mars set that has an axle, a peg hole, making it very versatile for MOCs. It looks a lot like the wheel Claptrap has. However, if you want to use gears or something else in place of a wheel like this, that's fine. Whatever pieces you have that will work. So for this piece, I put the axle through the hand piece, slide our wheel through. It doesn't matter which side goes in. You could have it either like that or like that. It's virtually indistinguishable. And that's essentially your wheelbase, and you can use the axle connectors to essentially make it so instead of balancing on a wheel that rolls and doesn't have any friction, it has very little friction to prevent it from making Claptrap fall over, you essentially have this to create kind of almost like a pseudo tripod. And this actually gives Claptrap some decent balance. As you can see, it's not flopping over, though you do have to make sure he leans on these back holders, or else he'll roll and flop forward. Connect the two limb pieces onto the protector torso and put it all together. You may have to wiggle Claptrap a little bit to get it to be centered, and try to lean it back a little bit. As you can see, I have the torso piece leaning back a little bit, and that's to help it rest on these suspension supporters. The arms are actually relatively easy to construct. All you need is the shortest limb piece that has a ball joint, the shortest piece that doesn't have a ball, that is a slight little axle piece, and two of the little bionicle hands, or the G1 hands, and 2 shell armor of this size. Now, I'm choosing to go with yellow because I'm a Hyperion, with a kind of the closest to Hyperion yellow, because I kind of want to make an original Claptrap, essentially the Claptrap of Firestone. However, you're welcome to use whatever color shells you want. For example, you could use a dark red or like a brown if you want to do something like a scav, or you could use, say, dark blue or kind of like a camo green if you wanted to make it dull. I wanted to go with a more traditional Hyperion Claptrap, which is why I'm going with that. Now for this, you just put the shell armor like that, so it's flush against the ball joint connection, and then you put the arm going like that. So essentially you have a flat upper arm, a 90-degree twisted lower arm, and then the flat hand. And you do that essentially because, well, you need to have elbow articulation, right? Attach this to our torso, and believe it or not, the rest of it is mostly just shell armor from here on. We're going to make the back of his chassis. For that you're going to need 2 of these black double pegs, and you're going to put them in on the second from the top and the very bottom of the peg holes in the protector torso. And you're going to take then one of these these 3-length rods that have a ball joint in the middle and attach that, boop, right there. Next, you're going to need a piece of small shell armor. This can be any color, however, if you want it to fit your color scheme more, I'd recommend being in the same color, though using a color like black or gray or silver will work as well. And just plug that right on the back. Now to finish it up, you're going to need one of these Hero Factory chest plates from Hero Factory 2.0 with the whole Inferno Crisis, or from 3.0, which was Savage Planet. If you don't have one of these, you can probably use a different piece of not shell armor, but like an armor add-on piece. But if you have one of these that goes with your color scheme, use that. You might have to move the arms down a little bit to get this to fit. But if you put the armor piece on, Claptrap is now able to have these little shoulder pieces and some back armor. And if you feel this isn't enough clearance for your arms, you can simply move the ball joint piece up 1 peg to give him a little more clearance, which is actually what I prefer, but I want to show you both. That way you could decide what you want to do for yourself. I like having a little bit more shoulder room, so I moved it up to the top pegs, as you can see here. For the front of Claptrap, I use one of these shell pieces. I believe this is called a size 5. I'm not sure, though. I believe it's called a size 5. One of the pieces that has kind of these little mini shields on the bottom and has this like little dip piece with the connections. Attach that to the front and add one of these little light pieces just to give you a kind of a clear view. It has a little peg and it has kind of a little dome of a light. You could, if you have another piece that you'd like to use more, you're welcome to use that. I recommend putting it in the top hole rather than the bottom. And there you go, you have Claptrap's blue eye. Now, we're almost done, though we just have the final piece on top of the head and his weapons. So, for that, I'm taking another piece of small armor and attaching that right in the back here. Now, if you want, you can tilt it backwards or tilt it forwards, however much you want. If you have it forwards, it does give a little bit of a gap. If you have it back, however, it adds a weird gappiness to the front. That unfortunately cannot be avoided, but I kind of just have it tilted a little bit in the middle, so it kind of looks a little bit more like a helmet for Claptrap. You just have to add the weapons and his antenna. For that, I'm using this weapon piece, this kind of the gun laser piece from Hero Factory 2.0. It's a really versatile piece, and it looks a lot like the kind of like laser rifles, especially the railgun lasers you find in Borderlands the pre-sequel. If you don't want to give him weapons, you're not required to. However, if you'd like to, because you like playing Frag Trap, I recommend using one of these. They take a lightsaber piece for their color, and since the most common element for lasers is fire, I'm using this orange one, or sorry, the most common element is incendiary. I'm using one of those. You're going to have to bend the hand a little bit to get it to fit right in the crux of the arm, as you can see here. And if you lift the arm a little bit, you can have him holding the laser rifle or railgun laser in his arms. And just adjust it to fit however you want him to hold it. Obviously, Claptrap is right-handed, as are most characters in Borderlands, unfortunately, except for Nisha and Salvador, who I'm pretty sure are ambidextrous. But Claptrap holds his weapons in his right hand. However, if you want to make a left-hand Claptrap, you're welcome to do that too. I wanted to include a little bit of an extra detail, so I took one of these hands. These were originally introduced in Exo Force as the hands for the robot drones. However, if you want to, I like to use them for a variety of things, usually attaching tiny little pieces like this, and I'm using a lightsaber handle from Star Wars. This one is in kind of that chrome silver. However, if you have one in gray, that will work too. And attach it like so onto the arm, and that's where Claptrap has his. That's where Claptrap in game keeps his grenade mods, and this kind of looks a little bit like the bandit grenade mods. So attaching that kind of gives him a little bit of a bandit grenade to go with his railgun, which is a laser weapon that has a Hyperion barrel. Lastly, for the antenna, I'm taking another one of these lightsaber pieces. This one is in dark gray. However, if you want to use black, light gray, or even a translucent color, you're welcome to, but I recommend either black, dark gray, or light gray. And I'm attaching that in the back hole of his small part there. And you might notice that the Claptrap, while he looks basically done, is missing that little light that usually appears in-game on his antenna. For that, you're going to need 2 stud pieces. It'd be better if I showed them to you this way. 2 stud pieces, one of a translucent blue because his beacon shines light blue, and then this one, it doesn't actually matter if it's black or not, but this one has a hole in the middle. This was not made by me, it was not modified by me, but it has a hole in the middle. This comes in some of the newer Lego sets, and they're pretty cheap stud pieces, so that way you can stick things through. Now you might want to remove the antenna piece for this, but essentially put the stud on the lightsaber piece so it's flush, it does not stick up any further, and put the light blue stud on top. Kind of looks like a cute little like wand or beacon. And plug that into the top of Claptrap. And there you are. Now, because of the way the wheel works, it may be a little wobbly, which is again more reason to have him leaning back onto his supports. And if you just want to have fun playing with your Claptrap, simply take off the supports and you can have him roll along and, well, be utterly useless to the plot. So there you have it, a perfectly sized CCBS Claptrap model. I think this is pretty dang good given the limits of CCBS. And in case you're wondering why I said perfectly sized, here he is in comparison to a standard size Hero Factory set, kind of that's that lightly armored character. And Claptrap mentions in Borderlands 2, did you know my head is at your crotch level? As you can see, the eye lines up roughly where the crotch of this size CCBS character would be. So it actually lines up pretty well. It's a little bit shorter than I'd prefer, but you could fix that by just using different pieces for the legs or using a slightly larger wheel to make Claptrap taller. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm Metagross Freak, and until next time, go do it, minion!